Hey guys, what's up? So I'm refilming this video because the other version of this video was so long and I was in the middle of doing my makeup in the video, but it was crazy. But I'm gonna do this so it's not as long and I get all my thoughts out. I'm gonna be sharing my Tony Award 2019 predictions. Lemon boy and me started to get along together. So I'm gonna go through the nominees. I'm just gonna get into it. It might be long, might be ranty, but I got all my thoughts out in previous clips. But I'm gonna re-say them and restate them because I know what I want to say. Yeah. So this is gonna be interesting. Because before we get started, comment down below your predictions for the Tonys. I know it's pretty early, but I want to know what you guys think. So let's go. Okay, I'm just gonna go from the bottom of the New York Times list up so I can save best musical for the end. For best orchestrations, we have Hadestown, Tootsie, Kiss Me Kate, Oklahoma, and Ain't Too Proud. So for this one, I'm gonna have to go with Hadestown. And you all know how biased I am because I love that show, but I'm gonna try to stay as least biased as I can. And I generally am with this one, but it's because there's people in the show that are on stage. They do not consider themselves instrumentalists. One girl literally had to learn the freaking accordion for the show for the first time ever. And they consider themselves actors, but they're still on the stage acting and performing and singing and dancing while they are learning this new instrument, such as the accordion or the violin or the other one. But the Fates, those three, they're the ones playing the instruments on stage while they act and do different things. So I would definitely go with that one. And also because the music it's probably the most musical show out of this. Because, alright, first rant. I feel like this season and this year for the Tonys, it is kind of a combination of different years of the past. I would have to say most of all it's a combination of 2017 and 2018. Now 2017, it was basically a hard year, I would say. It was mostly the conflict, not really conflict, but between Dear Evan Hansen and Great Comet. Those were the big two that everyone was in between thinking that they were going to win or they were not going to win or they're going to sweep and they're not going to sweep. So I feel like definitely for this year, that show, the Great Comet of this year is definitely Hadestown because obviously it's the one that's most musical and leading the pack with 14 nominations. Well, Prom is kind of the Dear Evan Hansen of the show. It follows around teenagers in high school. It follows and discusses a prominent discussion or topic that we should be talking about right now. Dear Evan Hansen had mental health and this has LGBTQ rights. So naturally, it's kind of interesting to see kind of how this is going to play out. Because obviously in years past, it worked out in Dear Evan Hansen's favor. However, this year, the Prom is seeming more like an underdog, especially because, Prom has had less raving reviews about it. It didn't have that big star power like Dear Evan Hansen had. Even though there are some pretty big names in the Prom and there are some new faces. However, Dear Evan Hansen had Ben Platt from Pitch Perfect, and everyone thought, oh, the guy from Pitch Perfect, his show. Well, and his voice was just the one leading the pack and everyone heard it and was like, oh, he's amazing. I want to see this. I kind of hate how I explain this anthology. I don't know. So basically, if you look at Dear Evan Hansen first. Dear Evan Hansen, it had more publicity than the Prom because with the star power of Ben Platt, people recognized him from Pitch Perfect. Even though it wasn't a stunt cast, and he wasn't carrying the show, like I said, because there are tons of people who also worked on Dear Evan Hansen, and they need to be recognized. That was kind of what Dear Evan Hansen had writing on it. And yes, Prom did have the advantage of performing at the Macy's Day Parade, and it did have the first gay kiss on the Macy's Day Parade, ever, which was a huge progressive step for them, and it got them a lot of publicity, and people looked at it. And that is definitely something to be considered, but at the same time, it wasn't the show that everyone was talking about this season. There was no show that every single person has been giving rave reviews and focusing on this season. It's just kind of been out and about.
And that was kind of the case for last season too, just because, you know, like they were all based off of movies and it was hard. But Prom is the only original one. Everything else is based off of something else. So not that I like kind of remembered that. I'm thinking that Prom is going to win Best Book, but I'm not trying to count Prom out. I love Prom. It's not my favorite musical, but I feel like it needs a lot of recognition. But I was just kind of comparing it to Dear Evan Hansen because that was the closest kind of comparison I could do it to, if that makes sense. So I didn't mean to offend Prom or anything. That was just kind of the closest thing I had to it.
Something important to me when I look at shows, I think of the popularity and the commercial aspect of it.
That's not something important to you. That's just something you think about.
Now I know that art stops becoming art when it becomes a business, but a lot of Broadway is a business. That's why last year in the 2018 Tonys, there were so many movie to musical adaptations, because yes, there are the people who are involved in theater, who pay attention to the theater and pay attention to the cast and the Tonys and all that stuff, and there are people who are like theater kids and theater majors and theater people who just work on theater. However, in the theater, like in different shows, there are people who aren't really into musical theater. They're just families on vacation and they want to see a show. That's why Disney musicals are so popular, because they're good for kids. That's why movie to musical adaptations are so, popular, because, oh, I've seen Mean Girls. Why not see the musical? That's why those are so popular, because people who aren't involved in theater want to see things that they're familiar with. However, I did find it interesting how Band's Visit closed so early last year, but that's also because Band's Visit, it was a Middle Eastern movie that not a lot of people knew of. It'd play on HBO once in a while. It was the one that won the most Tonys that year. So it's kind of interesting to see how that played out, but just because something won a bunch of awards, that doesn't mean it will be the most popular one. So I just kind of find that interesting how the commercial aspect of it will not play into the actual Tony Awards themselves. It's gonna play into after the Tonys. Like, will people want to see a show because it won more Tonys, or are they going to see Beetlejuice because it's a movie? And I'm not saying that Beetlejuice is bad, but that was just the movie to show adaptation I could think of. This year, there's also those movie to musical adaptations. I keep thinking musical to movie, but if I slip up, I'm sorry. We have the Beetlejuice, we have the Tootsie, even though, like, that feels more like one that, like, plays on HBO every once in a while. But we have that, and there's Ain't Too Proud, which is, oh, the Temptations, I've heard of them, I'll go see that musical. But I feel like that one's pretty much an underdog too, because I didn't even know what really Ain't Too Proud was until the Tonys. Next up, we have Best Choreography. We have Choir Boy, Kiss Me Kate, Tootsie, Hadestown, and Ain't Too Proud. Honestly, I'm not sure about any of these just because I haven't seen them. I haven't seen any of these shows because I did not go to New York this year. I'm going in October, which is going to be after the Tonys, so I won't be able to judge as well. I used to have a bootleg of Hadestown before I got taken off the internet. I feel like the Tonys are the hardest shows to put predictions on because it's so hard to see all of them before you make a judgment. Like for the Oscars, you can just go to the movie theater, go into different things, and just watch the movies. However, I would have to book a flight to New York, book a hotel, buy the tickets in advance if I want a guaranteed seat, and, I'd have to find a date where I could go see it before the Tonys and all that jazz. So it's kind of crazy. So I don't know if I'll be judging these accurately, while years in the past, such as last year, I could judge it pretty well, but I did not because I did not see Band's Visit. I've heard Kiss Me Kate has some pretty good dancing. Tootsie just has some good choreography, but Kiss Me Kate just has that, old world Broadway factor. Like, the older shows usually have good dancing. Like Carousel, I knew straight when I walked in the theater, this is gonna have amazing dancing because that choreography was straight from the Lord. Best sound design in a musical. We have King Kong, Beetlejuice, Ain't Too Proud, Oklahoma, and Hadestown. Personally, I don't really know much about sound design, so it could be anyone's game in my book. Best lighting design in a musical. We have Cher Show, Ain't Too Proud, Hadestown, King Kong, and Beetlejuice. So not to be biased or anything, but I'm gonna have to go with Hadestown. Now I do believe that it's mostly between King Kong and Beetlejuice, but just because King Kong, obviously, that is the most technical show. I have a good friend who's really in tech. He said, if you're gonna see King Kong, go see it for the tech, because it's just really good. because obviously they have a whole friggin' gorilla on stage. But however, Beetlejuice is, you know, there's snakes popping out, but this is sound design. No, this is lighting design, so it's different. Why am I holding a makeup brush? I don't know. But I'm gonna have to go with Hadestown just because there are amazing lighting choices in that show, and what I've seen of it, there's light choreography and Wait For Me, and some of the lighting, I kid you not, literally brought me to tears in the middle of health class. So do your homework and watch Bootlegs, kids. Best costume design in a musical. We have Hadestown, Tootsie, Beetlejuice, Cher Show, and Ain't Too Proud. I'm gonna have to go with Cher Show on this one because yes, they did have a product to work from, such as the old Cher costumes, but you know, they're pretty darn accurate. Like some of these, like you just have to start from scratch and hope for the best. Well, Cher Show does have an advantage just because there's already material of it and like there's still like a medium to work from, but they're really pretty and accurate. I like. All right, I'm gonna go through this fast just because my camera's dying. Best scenic design: Ain't Too Proud, King Kong, Hadestown, Oklahoma, and Beetlejuice. I think it's in between King Kong and Beetlejuice just because of the gorilla and the snakes popping out and everything like that. Best featured actress: we have Lily Cooper, Amber Gray, Sarah Stiles, Ali Stroker, and Mary Testa. That one's hard, but I think it's pretty much anyone's game. I will be rooting for Ali Stroker just because she's an amazing actress and she does not let her being wheelchair bound, you know, stop her from acting. And I think that's really admirable and I love her so much. She's amazing. Best featured actor: Andre DeShields, Andy Gratzioshen, I don't know, I can't pronounce it, Patrick Page, Jeremy Pope, and Ephraim Skies. Yeah, for that one I think it's anyone's game too because the ones I have seen are amazing actors, so it's pretty hard to pick one. Alright, best leading actress in a musical. I have a lot to say about this one. Stephanie J. Block, Caitlin Kinnuman, Beth Leavell, Eva Noblezada, and Kelly O'Hara. Personally, I think it's going to be Stephanie J. Block. I've heard so many good things about her portrayal of Cher in the Cher Show. And people have said, like, that I've seen it, she is Cher. She's not, they don't see Stephanie J. Block playing Cher. She is Cher. Which is probably one of the most, like, things you want as an actor. However, I do feel like Kelly O'Hara and Eva Noblezada have a good chance just because, you know, the pony board, they love a good classical revival.
I just want to say, shut that crap up.
But Eva Noblezada, her portrayal of Eurydice is pretty good, and she's played some characters that have been through some stuff, and Eurydice is one of them. And her portrayal in Flowers is just so beautiful. If you haven't heard Flowers, check it out on the 2010 recording. It's just so beautiful.
Especially when you figure out what Flowers is really about. Yeah. Separate video might be coming up about that because I've wanted to talk about it, but I'm going to be writing an essay before I do that about it, so I know what I'm saying. Also, by the way, when I said like classic Broadway revival, I meant like classical musical theater style, like Hello Dolly and Kiss Me Kate. Also, don't make fun of me because I didn't finish editing this last night, so.
And it's very sad, and there are some things in that song that you don't really realize until you listen to it, and it's like, you realize things about that show, and it gets you thinking.
Bonus upload about that coming next week.
Best leading actor in a musical: Brooks Ashman-Skaz, I can't pronounce that, in The Prom, Derek Baskin, Alex Brightman, Damon Daniel, and Santino Fontana. I've heard good things about Alex Brightman, but for that one, I feel like it's anyone's game. Like, because I haven't seen any of those portrayals. Next, we have Best Direction of a Musical: Scott Ellis in Tootsie, Rachel Chavkin directed Hadestown, Daniel Fish in Oklahoma, and Des McAniff in Ain't Too Proud. Anyone's game, I feel like. Because, like I said, I haven't seen any of these shows, so I don't really know the directorial choices that were made. Best Original Score: Beetlejuice, Be More Chill, Hadestown, The Prom, Tootsie, and To Kill a Mockingbird. I did not know that To Kill a Mockingbird could be considered for that. But you know what? To Kill a Mockingbird can win it because To Kill a Mockingbird is snubbed. I'm mad about that. But personally, I think it's going to be Hadestown because That's more of like the musically complex show this year. That's the most musical show. It's so sung through and so prominent. Best book, Ain't Too Proud, Beetlejuice, Hadestown, The Prom, and Tootsie.
So I didn't really give a prediction for this category. I don't really know why I didn't, but I thought about it and I have a prediction, and that is Prom for best book, because it's the only one that wasn't based off of anything, and those are usually the big winners. So Prom for best book.
Best revival of a musical, Kiss Me Kate versus Oklahoma. I want Oklahoma to win just because it is such an amazing, I love what they did with the casting. I think it's just so perfect because it demonstrates how much diversity is really amazing. So I'm hoping for that, but with things that have been demonstrated in the past, Broadway does like their old world revivals, but with what happened last year at the Tonys with Once on This Island, that could happen too. So I'm hoping for Oklahoma. They should win. So anyway, sorry, the angle screwed up. I think that Best Musical is anyone's game at this point.
My prediction's probably Hadestown, but I don't want to jinx it.
You know, with like what happened in 2017, it could really be anyone. I'm thinking it's gonna be either Hadestown, Prom, or Tootsie, because you know, Hadestown is a musically complex show that has a good storyline that gets people interested, and it's just like the whole package. It has complex music, it's beautiful music, close to an original story, but however, Prom has something that every other musical does not have, and that's an original storyline. And it has that important topic that we need to be talking about and all that jazz. While Tootsie just has that Broadway classic glitz and glamour that you don't get a lot from musicals, even though Tootsie is kind of problematic. But that's a video for another day, because there are pieces of that are problematic, especially when pertaining to the transgender community. But I do not want to be speaking on behalf of people in that community because I do not know their struggle, because I am cisgender, so I don't really identify with that struggle and I don't relate to that. But however, I do know kind of why it's problematic, but I don't feel like it's my place to explain it. But I think those are like the big three for Best Musical. But if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and I'll see y'all next week. Bye!